Yes, time for Chapter 2, Part 1, because I know I'm going to have to read this in 2 parts. And there's a big honking fly in here that has a death wish, just so you know. Stacy slowly opened her hazel eyes to find her pet's fluffy head resting in the middle of her chest, using her as a pillow. She squinted at the light as she fought the urge to hide under the covers and go back to sleep. With a groan, she rolled over, pushed the blankets aside, and sat up, throwing her legs over the side of the bed. Heidi gently pawed at Stacy, informing her that it was time for breakfast. "Give me a few minutes to wake up," she begged her companion. She reluctantly rose from bed and stood on her tiptoes, stretching the kinks out of her body and glancing at the clock at the bedside table. It was now after 10, and she'd slept away half the morning. She remembered she had turned the telephone ringer off and wondered if her office had tried to reach her. She hadn't done a lick of work, which meant she had to play catch-up for the remainder of the day. Stacy propelled herself into high gear, quickly selecting her clothes for the day and hurrying into the bathroom. Just as she was climbing out of the shower, the telephone rang. In a flurry, she wrapped a towel around her curvaceous figure and grabbed the telephone. "Hello?" she said, hoping it wasn't her boss. A deadpan voice asked, "Did you sleep well?" Stacy smiled broadly as she recognized the voice. "Good morning to you, and yes, I slept very well, except for one annoying phone call early in the morning." She walked over to the bed and sat down. She had a feeling this conversation might drag on. "It didn't take you very long, did it?" The edge was evident in his tone. "What didn't take very long?" she asked, innocently ignoring his sarcasm. "Are we going to play games?" Justin tried to keep his voice light. "What game are we talking about?" she asked, laughing out loud. She could almost feel his breath over the phone wires, his frustration obvious as he tried to maintain a degree of control. "You know, Justin, you haven't welcomed me home. I've been away for a year, and haven't you noticed? Or haven't you noticed?" "As a matter of fact, I did notice. It's been quiet around here," he said. "Actually, the whole neighborhood's noticed," he said with obvious sarcasm. "That sounds ever so boring," she chuckled into the phone. "Tell me, what's been happening with you this past year?" Justin ignored the question, knowing she was trying to avoid admitting to her madcap mission. "Come on, Stacy," he pleaded. "Please don't start the foolish pranks again. I was just getting used to not looking over my shoulder every time I turned around." "Now, Justin, you know me better than that. Begging doesn't work with me." "Yes, I know," he said, sighing loudly. "And thanks for leaving the note on the window," he said sarcastically. "Otherwise, I would never have guessed who was creeping around in the middle of the night barricading my doors with snow." Stacy was a little puzzled that Justin was not taking her prank with the usual good humor. "This is only the beginning, Sugar and Lance. It's a good thing I moved back to town. Someone has to restore that sense of humor you seem to have lost over the past year." "Stacy, that kind of sense of humor I can do without. Because of you, Cheryl had to crawl through the window to leave this morning, and believe me, I'm going to pay for that," he said with a serious note. "Justin, I'm sorry to hear that." Stacy almost laughed out loud, she was able to hold it back. She had been kept up to date on the local scuttlebutt, thanks to her best friend Lizzie Beth. Lizzie was cute as a button, with shoulder-length, straight light brown hair, sparkling hazel eyes, and a curvaceous body. They had called each other at least twice a week and had visited on occasional weekends while Stacy was away. Village gossip traveled like lightning in Winter Falls, and the one bit of news Stacy found intriguing was that Justin had been dating Cheryl McClawley for the last 8 months. Cheryl was elegantly styled, auburn hair, and always dressed in the latest style, and if she wasn't flipping through the fashion magazines, she was shopping for clothes or dabbing on her makeup. Stacy had dated Justin for a short time during high school, and Cheryl made no effort to conceal her interest in him. She flaunted herself at every opportunity. On the other hand, his genuine relationship with Stacy irked Cheryl tremendously. "Anyway, listen, I have to go. I just jumped out of the shower." "Stacy, I really don't—" His voice was growing impatient. She interrupted him abruptly. "Not now, Sugar and Lance. I don't have time for a lecture. I'm sitting here in a towel, and I'm starting to chill out. I gotta run." She hung up the phone, Smiling, she quickly threw on some clothes and hurried around the house, doing a quick cleanup. In the kitchen, she started the coffee and topped up the dog food before retrieving the latest manuscript she was editing. She spread the paperwork out on the coffee table in the living room and was just about to sit down when the telephone rang again. Stacy reached for the receiver. "Not now, Sugar and Lance. I'm busy," she said, ready to hang up. "Don't hang up the phone." "Lizzie?" "Yes. Sorry to disappoint you, but it's not your buddy, Sugar and Lance. What have you done to your poor Justin this time?" she inquired, knowing she likely didn't want to hear the answer. Lizzie was sure Stacy still carried a torch for Justin, but she didn't tell Stacy about her suspicions. Stacy would realize it soon enough. "Suspicions? Who, me?" Stacy started to laugh. "What makes you think I did anything?" she asked, trying hard to be serious. Stacy and Lizzie had been friends forever, yet the personalities were totally opposite. Stacy was the comedian, Lizzie was the serious one. But like Abbott and Costello, they complemented each other. Lizzie gave Stacy the structure she so desperately needed, while Stacy showed her friend the lighter side of life. They were always there for each other, through the thick and thin, and even though Lizzie didn't get involved in most of the antics, she was often the subtle instigator. "I know you too well, Stacy," scolded her friend, "so tell me." Stacy related the entire escapade, concluding the tale by describing the note saying, "I'm back." By the time Stacy finished her story, both she and Lizzie were in stitches. "See, you found it funny. Why didn't Justin?" she asked, still chuckling. After pulling herself together, Lizzie said, "Oh, Stacy, I'm surprised the poor guy is still sane after all these years." And then something struck her funny, and she started laughing again. "Stacy, do you remember the prank you pulled on him in high school?" "Which one? There were so many." "You know, the time when the guys were in the gym class, and we slipped into the men's changing room and switched his underwear for a pair of lace panties." Laughter erupted from both ends of the phone line. "Do you remember peeking around the corner of the changing room as Justin emerged from the showers with a towel wrapped around that athletic body of his? For as long as I live, I'll never forget the look on his face when he reached into his gym bag and pulled out those black lace panties," she said, trying to control her laughter. Stacy remembered all too well, and if memory served her, Lizzie had masterminded the idea. "Yes, but do you remember how he retaliated?" It took Lizzie a few seconds to recall, and then she burst into laughter again. Sorry, I wanted to see how much further the chapter went. "I can still see your bra dangling from the flagpole. Tell me something. Did you ever discover how he managed to get one of your bras?" "No, and he won't tell me either." After that prank, Stacy had thought about it for weeks, and never did figure out how he managed to steal one of her bras. "Listen, Lizzie, I have to go. I was up so late last night doing my creative thing that I slept away half the morning. It's time to get to work, get some work done. Why don't we meet for dinner tonight?" "That would be great," Lizzie said. That's where I'm going to end it, because I'll do the second half of the chapter tomorrow. So, stay tuned.